This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per top.
5 and 6 million.
He is hell-bent on global domination. We just broke our 100,000 unit sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
I just finished traveling Southeast Asia for 41 days, and I usually always get sick when I travel, and quite frankly, eating is difficult for me. It's hard to find a restaurant, and I'm spoiled in Austin with my personal chef. Well, I took these little packets with me this time, 30 of them, in my carry-on suitcase. They kept me totally healthy with 11 different secret ingredients. You can see them at nathanlatka.com/juice. I'll tell you more later on in the show. That's nathanlatka.com/juice. This is episode 667, and coming up tomorrow morning, I ask the Bill.com CEO if they're going to beat Intuit at the small business financial technology game. Renee also reveals his revenue. It is a big number. Tune in and see if the number matches what you think Bill.com is doing. I bet it surprises you. Good morning, everybody. My guest this morning is Laurent, and he brings extensive knowledge of digital payments and emerging markets to PayU, where he serves as the CEO. He culminated an 11-year career at PayPal as general manager for continental Europe, Russia, Middle East, and Africa, leading a billion-dollar division across diverse geographies. Prior to PayPal, he founded an Italian startup called Talent Manager. He built a 40-person team there and led the startup's expansion into France and Spain. He also has experience at McKinsey and Antal International. He'll lead PayU's strategic direction and development, currently building on the company's position in high-growth markets all around the world. Now, given the company's focus on being an expert in the local markets in which it operates, Laurent will lead the creation and implementation of new payment methods which best suit PayU's customers all around the world. Laurent, are you ready to take us to the top?
Perfect. Thanks for this introduction, Nathan.
Yes, thanks for coming on. So, for those folks not familiar with PayU, tell us what it does and what your revenue model is. How do you generate money?
Very classic business, PayU. It's a payment gateway. So basically, we are serving merchants all over the world, especially in high-growth markets, as you said, which for us means truly India, Africa, Central Eastern Europe, Latin America. Basically, we enable merchants to sell online, to accept payments online, and two things that are different about us. The first one is we do have regional platforms. I think you will see a lot of companies who talk about global payments. I believe actually that payments are extremely local and regional. That's one. The second thing is actually since I joined PayU, we started to move from pure payments to actually financial services, offering credit solutions to our merchants, but also to consumers. So these are the two things that really differentiate us in that space.
And what if you had to kind of break down your current revenue between those two models, kind of the financial services versus just the payment processing angle? Which one is a bigger market for you currently?
Oh, it's still payments, absolutely. So basically commissions on every transaction. Financial services in the form of consumer credit, of merchant financing, it's still very early on. I think it's strategic to do that for any payments company because that's the way actually to really leverage your assets, which are transactional data and the merchant network that you have. All the rest, you could really imagine that in a few years, the payments itself, the processing itself, will be free. So you have to prepare now for that time.
Yeah, I had a gentleman named Monish Anand on recently in episode 617. He runs a company called Data Signs. Have you heard of him by chance?
No. No.
They're interesting. It sounds like you're interested in this market as well, but he saw what you saw, and so he's strictly financial services. And in India, he sees these these money sharks loaning money to small merchants at a ridiculously high rate. He undercuts them and then has a payment solution behind it. It sounds like, is that accurate? Are you kind of thinking about the same thing?
Absolutely. I think the ability, to offer credit is all about your ability to manage risk. And to do that, you need to be able actually to leverage data. So if you go around the world, the banks have done this, but all using the same credit scoring model and basically addressing the 1% of the population, the population that actually do not really need credit. If you go now to India and you want to address really the 90% of the population, they do have the means to repay their debt. They do want, of course, to buy stuff online, so consumption is very high, but they have what we call a very thin file. So you need really to have all the credit scoring and the ability to extract data from all over, the different sources. The biggest one actually being your mobile data. If you do that properly, then truly, you have a technology company that does really credit scoring. Then the rest of credit is just mechanics. It's just the same model that you have with the banks, and truly you can undercut them.
Makes a lot of sense. Now we're going to dive more into this, guys, but Laurent, I want to go back to your beginning. So was Talent Manager, was that right out of college, like your first startup? Was that your beginning in kind of entrepreneurship or no?
Yes, absolutely. That was truly, my first company. Now I would say I try to help younger people with their own companies, but that was my own effort. So the classic, story, I started alone, in my kitchen in Milan. My accent doesn't give it up, but I'm French and Italian. So I was there in Milan, and I basically decided to start a job board, Talent Manager, basically, just to create the matching mechanism between supply and demand of young professionals in Southern Europe. So found a partner to really build the website. And when I see right now the entrepreneurs where you can just set up, your mobile application, use, Amazon, web services. I mean, I remember the day I had to go to the shop and buy, my first, compact pizza rack.
What year was this, Laurent?
That was 97.
And how old were you?
I was 25.
25. That's so, yes. Yeah, we have it easy these days. We click a button and boom, it's done.
Yeah, that was cool because, I had just an ISDN connection. The thing is, it was really easy to get consumers because the few people who were online really would find you out. So, the CPA, the click model, etc., not much existed. But anyway, the reality of that is we did the classic, boom and bust of these years. So really raising money with
how much?
With some good VCs. At the time, it was the equivalent now of 5 million euro for our first round.
Okay.
The thing is, we never went past the first round because at one point, these 5 million euro in that time, by the way, it was billions of lira at that time. It was pre-euro. We started to spend it in classical marketing, advertising, and so on. So basically the boom and then the bust. You have to, fire the people you've hired, etc. So
and you grew it big, right? I mean, you grew it to 40 people and then had to kind of fire them all and slowly wind it down.
Oh, yeah, that was just in Italy. But then, we opened subsidiary in France, in Spain. We did a joint venture with Portugal Telecom. I mean, it was growing pretty fast. But, first lesson for me is the P&L of a company does not change at all, new economy or not. The second thing is cash is still essential if you can't raise. And this is what happened basically when we did our second round in the year 2000. People are still recovering from that. You couldn't raise money. So, when I am today in India and I see companies with a very, very high burn rate.
What's a high burn rate?
Well, high burn rate is, we're talking, a couple of 100 millions a year.
A couple of hundred, like 200 million a year.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I mean, I would look at that number and go, well, that seems extremely high. I would say if someone's listening right now and they have less than 6 months of cash on the runway, your burn's too high.
Yes, I think so. And I think the reality is, then you have the entrepreneurs who is constantly fundraising instead of building the business. I think the market is changing now in high growth markets for sure, but it's still, one of these very early days that I remember for sure in Europe that I can't find in some of these markets. So for me, the lessons are still there, right?
What'd you grow revenue to? Your best year in Talent Manager, what was top line revenue?
Oh, boys, I can't remember that one.
Like above $1 million or below $1 million?
Yeah, it must have been a couple million.
Okay, a couple million. So you didn't really, did you make anything off that outside the salary you paid yourself and it just went under?
Well, actually, no. The website is still up because we sold actually the software. That's what we sold to a headhunting company in Italy, and it's still up and running.
For how much?
And,
how much you sell it for?
just to cover the cost, really, of the severance package.
Okay, got it. So
no, that's not true. I also paid for my MBA after that.
Okay, got it. So
which is really, it's like, paid vacation. That's it, right?
So talent manager, MBA, and then what? Is it McKinsey and then PayPal?
Yeah, McKinsey was at the very beginning. McKinsey is always the continuation of business school, just so that you learn how to do a slide and stuff like this. After that, really, the MBA for me was first the opportunity to be in London, meet a lot of people, work on different projects, actually. And one of these projects was at PayPal. PayPal, literally, in 2004, it was 3 people in a corner office in Richmond, south of London. And they were looking for someone to do a market study about the potential for PayPal outside of eBay. And so they were looking, for MBA student to do that. So I needed some money. I did that for 6 months, and then they hired me. So that's how it all started, basically.
You mean a lot of the initial users at PayPal were specifically because of the eBay marketplace, and they were trying to expand outside of that marketplace?
Yes, absolutely. But I think this one is a lesson learned in payments. Payment is really a dual-sided market, right? And one of the key elements of PayPal, which was not by far, the first wallet, was truly the flywheel of eBay. And I think this is a big lesson. Again, when you go to high growth markets like India, for instance, you see that most of the investments for all the payment startups you see there is still in building this flywheel or building, this engagement machine for consumers.
Yep.
I think PayPal, was really, really lucky also to find, that specific use case on eBay, but then grow it also outside of eBay. So
you joined really, really early. Did you get equity in the company?
Well, yeah, you got all the different stock options and RSU at the time, yes, which was at the time for everyone. It was the typical, I would say, Silicon Valley company. The spirit was always very different from eBay. I would say a bit more scruffy, entrepreneurial, especially in Europe.
Laurent, were you employee number 4 though? Am I getting that right?
In Europe?
Oh, just in Europe. Okay, got it.
No, in Europe. Nathan, otherwise,
I was about to say, I'm trying to go, wait a second, I'm missing something in the story here. So you're talking specifically about the European team. Okay.
The European team, absolutely. Well, otherwise it would have been a different story, right?
Otherwise you'd be taking me out to steak dinners right now.
Or it could be, we'll be talking about our next trip to Mars or something like this. Right? That's what people do now,
Yep, that's great.
When Earth is too small, it's like, let's go to Mars.
So let me ask you this then. You're with PayPal for 11 years, and I want to transition now into PayU. There are a lot of companies listening right now that are like PayU, right? They before they brought you on, they raised $4 million?
Who's that?
PayU. How much have they raised?
No, PayU is part of a company, a big group called Naspers, a very diversified group, which is one of the biggest technology investors for high growth markets. One example, Naspers is the largest shareholder of Tencent, for instance, in China.
Yeah, right? But didn't you guys take a round from in July of 2015 from Luno, a Series A for $4 million, and another one in 2016 from Zest Money for 6.5?
Oh, right. So then we invest, of course. We do two things. We have our payments business, as I explained before, and we have also, our fintech arm, which is truly investing in interesting startups that we see in the different markets.
Got it.
Absolutely right. You mentioned Luno, you mentioned Zest Money. These are startups that we see. Luno was in Singapore and South Africa, a Bitcoin exchange. Zest Money is a consumer credit, a very good team in India. And actually, for us is the opportunity is to be not just an operator, but also an investor. And one of the things I believe is in fintech, it's very difficult to scale your business. You do need to have transactional data, access to consumers or merchants. So what we can bring to these guys is, of course, cash, but also, all these access. That's why we've decided, to move from payments to financial services and from pure operator to investor.
Yeah. And so I want to go back, though, to this question. I want to go more down the kind of the investment route you guys are taking. But what did they do? What did PayU do or PayU's board do to get you to say, okay, I'll give up the safety and security of PayPal to join PayU?
Well, I think at one point, first I left PayPal just after the split and the IPO.
The split from eBay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yes, the split that led to the IPO in July 2015. So there you go, with your stock option and RSUs, it's time to enjoy life. So what I did was basically, spending around 6-7 months helping different startups, especially in digital banking. One of them is called Monese. It's based in the UK. I am an investor there, an advisor, and also an investor. You need to put your money where your mouth is. And these guys are basically building a new bank for unbanked people.
What was it called again?
Monese, Monese. I do some advertising for the guys. Norris is a great CEO. You should talk to him, really.
Yeah, I'll have him on the show. Make an introduction. I'll have him on.
From Estonia.
That'd be great. I love diversity. That's wonderful. So you invested for a few years. Again, walk me. How did PayU find you? What did they offer you?
It was through Naspers, which is through the group. Look, the story there was Naspers is, as I said, one of the biggest investor, and they've got participation in TV, in classic media, in e-commerce like Flipkart, Tencent, and so on. And then they are this payment company. And the whole story was, well, look, we've got this payments company, in high growth markets. Is there something bigger that we could do with it? So the whole discussion for me was like, look, I think you are in the right market. This is where the growth is coming from, okay, in the next 5 years. And these are markets that US companies truly struggle to understand and really get access to. But you need to do something much bigger, and that's financial services. So I joined really Naspers and PayU on the basis of I'm going to manage that payment business, but transform it into a financial services company.
Got it.
That's what we're doing.
And give us a sense of kind of scale and size. So you can give any time scenario that you want, whether it's last year or last month or whatever, but how much in terms of payment volume are you guys processing? Yeah,
so actually we finished this year, right, in 2016, around $18 billion of payments volumes.
Okay, with a B, right? Billion US dollars?
Yes, absolutely. It's all USD, 18 billion. The growth rate was around 40%.
Year over year?
Year over year, yes. 40% year over year. But what we are forecasting for next year is to maintain the same growth rate. However, we see a really big push in India where the growth rates we have right now are around the 70% mark. India is really the most exciting market I see right now around the world.
Got it. So you think you'll do, call it 25, maybe 29, maybe 30 billion USD in 2017 in the payment business while you're also expanding the financial services side?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, financial services here, for me, it's something we need to build over the next 3 years before it becomes really substantial to the business. And when I say substantial, I will expect, around 10% of the revenues to come really from credit, basically. On top of that, we'll continue to
Wait, Laurent, sorry, I don't understand. What do you mean when you say 10% of the revenues to come from credit?
10% of the total revenues will come purely just from the credit activity. That's what you get basically, around 24 months, 36 months from inception.
I don't understand what that means, though. What is credit activity?
Consumer credit, How do you make money with that? You give credit to people. You make your money basically on the interest rate.
Oh, got it.
Okay. And you cover your costs.
Got it.
So I think for me, what is important is when you start credit from scratch is actually to build your portfolio in a very consistent way. It's very good to grow super fast in the payment side in India. When you build a credit business, you better be sure also that, you know how to manage the risks. And that's a very different line of business. Yeah.
And what I didn't ask you this, I don't think previously, but on average, what are you taking on a dollar processed through your system in terms of cut?
For the payments, it varies. Basically, you would look from 100 to 300 basis point.
Okay, so call it 1 to 3%. Got it. Okay, good. So you're expanding in financial services. You processed about 18 billion last year. The way you make money is by taking between kind of 1 and 3%, depending on where you are and some other kind of inputs. What's the team size currently?
At the moment, we'll be around 1,500 people in four main regions: Africa, Central and Eastern Europe, which for me also include Russia and Turkey, India, and Latin America. Latin America for us is from Mexico down to Chile. So we've got basically 16 offices.
Are you familiar with the Russian scheme that was founded out and really deconstructed about in 2014 called Laundromat?
Not really, no.
Okay. No, it's okay. I was gonna ask you a question about it, but that would be interesting for you. What it was basically a way they laundered almost $20 trillion, or was it trillion or billion? It was a large amount of money, maybe $20 billion worth of money using fake financial debt instruments, and they bribed judges in Moldova, I believe it was Moldova, or another Central European or Middle Eastern country. And I'm just curious, as more of this stuff moves online, how you prevent super sophisticated things like that from happening.
Well, I mean, that's really the big topic of financial regulation and fintech in general. It's all about, anti-money laundering regulations and KYC. In any market, you have local regulations you have to comply with. Okay, that's the big cost actually of fintech for any startup. So I think on that one, really the rules are pretty set and pretty established. That's something you have to comply with. The problem here is more when some of the actors in the overall system don't really apply these rules, sometimes voluntarily, right? For us, I think that's part of the different, payments companies that you have established. That's the number one concern is, are you truly compliant with these different rules, especially in markets where the regulation is changing quite rapidly, I would say. Yeah. That's a big area of investment and a big area of focus for us. That's for sure.
Now, and just to understand, you said you want to have 10% of your revenue really coming from this sector, kind of financial services. Currently, I'm going to do backwards math here. If you've got $18 billion in 2016 transaction volume and you take between 1% and 3%, on the low end of that, that's, $180 million, call it up to say 500 or 600 million. Is that accurate? And then you want about 10% of that to be transitioning into financial services?
I think you're very good at doing math. Yes.
Okay, good. I mean, that's a big taking adding 10% to an already large number. I mean, that's a significant financial services business. I'm eager to watch and see what you do and what kind of instruments you invent, and especially when it comes to managing risk outside of the very structured ways traditional banks do it. It's going to be fun to watch you.
Yes, I mean, look, we've just launched in India a product called LazyPay. I love the Indian creativity, when it comes to naming products. So
I love it.
I love it, LazyPay, and the concept is basically, try to imagine you're in India, you've got your Android phone, okay, you want to buy tickets. I mean, that's the real use case. Connection is still a bit, patchy. So basically what you want is really get out of the checkout process as fast as you can. LazyPay is truly giving you the possibility to pay now, okay? Just click, and then you will pay later. You will settle your debt later. That's effectively, a credit product that we're giving, but the positioning is really like, hey, click now, you will pay later. That's why the name, LazyPay. So you see here, it's like effectively you're taking a risk on our side because, hey, we're giving you, a product, a service. You're not paying us up front. We will get the money in 2 weeks. We do that for you because we know you. Basically, I know your phone. I have your financial instrument, on record, etc., but I still bear the risk. But for me, I really believe in that type of product because it's just about, removing frictions. And the merchants, they love it because when you
instant
talk
pay
to merchants about this, they see it as a marketing. Yes, for them it's like, oh, it's not a payments. We are not talking about basis point of cost. For them, it's the marketing instrument to sell more.
Yep.
That's, I think, what is really interesting about this type of solution.
It makes a lot of sense, Laurent. I feel like we could keep talking for hours about this space, but let's wrap up here with the famous 5. You ready?
All right. Okay, let's go.
Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
The Hard Things About Hard Things.
That's a good one. Yep. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
Not really CEO. I'm really plugged into the fintech community. Chris Skinner, I think, is a very good observer of what's happening to banking. Chris Skinner, I recommend.
Chris Skinner. Okay, good. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool, like Acuity Scheduling?
Oh, sure. It must be top of the inbox.
Yeah, you said you just installed it. I'm curious how you found
Absolutely. I will send you my feedback, but honestly, yes, it's super easy. Yes.
How'd you find it, out of curiosity?
Just checking, your profile online. When you join Twitter, and then from link to link, I came to that. It's called serendipity, right? So,
it is. Well, I'm glad you're using it. Thetopinbox.com. Good stuff. Number 4. How many hours of sleep are you getting every night?
6, 7.
Okay, that's not bad. And what's your situation? Married, single? You have kids?
Yeah, I've got kids living in Miami. That's my second marriage.
Okay.
Gets better and better.
How many kids total?
2.
All right. And how old are you, Laurent?
Myself,
Yeah.
I am 45.
Okay, so last question. Take us back 25 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
It's not about knowledge. It's just go experience more. Don't think about linear, type of career. Just go out there in this brave new world. I should have experimented much more.
There you guys have it from Laurent. Just experience more. It's not always about knowledge. Back in 1997, when he was 25, he threw his hat into the entrepreneurship game, launching Talent Manager, where he raised 5 million euros, then grew that in revenue into several million, then had to slowly wind it down and sell off the assets. He used that money to go put himself through his MBA program, then ended up at McKinsey, did a project for a very small European team of 3 people that happened to be called something we all know now, PayPal. He then joined them for 11 years, oversaw $1 billion unit and a lot of geographical expansion. As he then exited PayPal, once the split with eBay and the public and the IPO happened, he was looking around, came across PayU and their parent company. He's now focused on PayU. In 2016. Their payment processing business did about $18 billion, United States dollars. It's growing 40% year over year. They made $180 million at a minimum off that, taking about 1% up to say 500 or 600 million if it's up at 3%. He's now focused on really taking this business and molding it into more of a financial services business where he understands credit, he has the data sets, and he can offer more money to more people in a quicker fashion, be it merchants or consumers. Laurent, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you, Nathan. It was a pleasure.
If you enjoyed today's episode, and boy, was that good or what, guys, listen to yesterday's episode with Jonathan Epstein. He's the Sentient SVP with $100 million raised. Their A/B testing tool now uses artificial intelligence. Now, is it really using AI, or is that just a marketing tactic? Well, you tune in to find out, and you tell me. It would mean the world to me if you guys got any value from this episode, if you would go leave a review on iTunes right now and then subscribe. I hustle like heck to get these episodes out every freaking day for you guys. And trust me, I love it. I would do it with no listeners, but boy, oh boy, it makes my day and it makes my team's day when we see great reviews and get your feedback. So thanks so much. Okay, Top Tribe, I love giving away free money. I feel like Oprah giving away cars, and I have something special for you today. How many of you have heard our super sharp guests talk about success they've had with Facebook and Google Ads? Well, all of you listening right now, yes, if you're listening, you get $100 in free AdWords. Here's how you get it. Okay, again, thanks for listening. Get the free $100 from Google right when you sign up with my website host provider, HostGator. Go sign up now to get your free money. HostGator.com/Nathan. Again, that's HostGator.com/Nathan. So guys, I'm so glad to be back in Austin. I just got back from a major tour of Southeast Asia. Went to Sydney, Bangkok, Bali, and Japan. And, I always get sick when I travel. And this particular trip, my gosh, 15 different airports, 20 different hotels. I mean, imagine flushing in airport bathrooms. I was worried about germs and getting all the nutrition I need. I mean, finding a restaurant in Japan, difficult because nothing's in English. So it's hard enough to figure out the train system. But my point is, I had a guy named Drew Canoli on the show who said, Nathan, if you're concerned about that, take these little green packets with you. You just mix them once per day with water. They'll keep you super healthy. You get all your nutrients, and they'll keep you from getting sick. So I took them, and guys, they worked unbelievably well. I got no sickness, just mixed them with water once per day. They didn't make my water bottles all sticky. That's nice. A lot of these mixers, they make them sticky. It was very clean and smooth. Took them once per day, never got sick. So they've got 11 superfoods, and they're perfect if you're not traveling, but you're just on the go from your office to work. So you can check them out at nathanlatka.com/juice. That's nathanlatka.com/juice.